Welcome back for Game 2 between UCLA and UCR. Unfortunately, we were not able to get the first win of the series, and as I had been mentioning before the game, our carries were really Temetrius Morant and the Doggo for our team. And when you see the TF facilitating a lot of these plays, even though he was getting a lot of pretty nice shots, he was mostly focusing on the Camille on the top side. And when you have a Jinx as your AD carry, you're going to want to actually put a lot more resources into the Doggo's Jinx. And as we saw later in that game, the Jinx was often the reason why the fights were lost. Was not because Jinx wasn't necessarily strong, but because Jinx was immediately out of the fight. And so it had been a bit more focus on the Jinx, on the Doggo in the first game, keeping them alive, putting more resources to them, really helping them out. I think that game might have ended a bit differently. So we'll be getting into game 2 pretty shortly, and we'll just have to see how UCLA is able to help out the Doggo and Temetrius carry their team. Welcome back into the game. We can see a bit of a switch up on these champs here. Alibye is going with Karma once more, so we're going to really have an emphasis on these Enchanter champs, it seems, this series. But I do like Karma a bit better this game because it is being paired with an Olaf, Straw's Olaf. Straw's has a pretty good showing on Olaf so far, and they're actually going to find them here in the bot side. Vision is not seen, so maybe Leona will actually see them instead. Leona does walk to them. Maybe UCR wants to fight them head on, but I don't think that's too smart an idea. It will instead be them seeing each other. I think it's best if UCLA actually goes back, and that's what they'll be doing here. So as I was going back, we have a Olaf with an Enchanter combo, and these are really strong because Olaf is a champ that's notorious for falling off really early on. Usually around the third dragon, Olaf becomes not even really relevant anymore. But with the addition of Alibye as the Karma, if you're able to provide these massive shields, these really large amounts of utility, Straws on that Olaf will be able to live just that bit longer and really try to hunker down on the enemy carries. Unfortunately, Kai'Sa and Ahri, probably the two main focuses, are really hard to really pinned down because they have a lot of movement in their own kits. So we'll just have to see how that works out. Straws will end up taking their red buff here, opting for a bit of a cheesier play. Pry will go into either the rest of his red side and risk being found out, or go into his own camps. Zhao, we do see pings on the map, might be going for the red buff on the side of UCLA, but instead it seems that both junglers are going to actually just be taking the farm out on UCR's side of the jungle. Going in the top side matchup, we do have Kenan versus Gwen. Oh wait, never mind. Straws for the level 2 gank? Questionable? No. I think the idea behind here is that Straws was going to go for the gank, and if it worked out, it worked. But otherwise, he's just going straight to his red side because he doesn't want Xin invading. First Poro did get a decent amount of trade going off level 1, and did not get the level 2, so he's going to have to actually run away as Gwen tries to engage. So top side, we're going to really focus on can Kenan really keep Gwen out of the fight. Gwen is actually not awful into ranged because of the access to the immunities provided by her W. However, Kenan doesn't really care about Gwen this game. Unlike last game in which you have it seems that actually Yu and Sly Lego are going to make a level 2 and 3 gank here. Sly Lego goes way far. Charm does hit, however, and Temetrius is going to fall because of Asian Knight, but it will be a 1-for-1. Unfortunately for UCR, that play on Sly Lego was not it, and it will actually end up a not as awful trade-off for UCLA. First Poro is doing a great job really punishing the Gwen here so far. And when we're thinking of Kenan comps, we're thinking of Olaf, Kenan, Ryze comps. What we're probably going to see is Ryze really just setting the team in the middle of UCR's team. And we're going to see the Kenan and the Olaf just absolutely raise them to the ground, or at least that's what we're going to hope to see. Ezreal Karma is going to be a really good neutral bot side. And when we're thinking of Ezreal and Karma, we're going to think of being far away and poking from afar. So whereas Kenan, Ryze, and Olaf want to go in, we're going to have the Ezreal play a more supportive role. I think Doggo actually noticed himself that he was dying really easily to these heavy engage comps. So Doggo on this Ezreal is going to be able to keep sending out damage and stay alive. Even if Jinx can do more damage than a Ezreal, it does not matter. Straws will flash in here trying to finish off Sly Lego, but it will not be enough as both Yu and Asian Knight are here to help out. Alibye will shield herself and will not get out alive as Yu will be able to get right on top of her. And this is catastrophic for UCLA. UCLA did draft a generally earlier end game. They have a bit of a mix between outscaling and outscaled champs. Of course, you probably want Ryze generally at all points of the game more than Ahri in terms of utility, but Ahri has great neutral setup and is kind of a neutralizer itself, and it's in its ability to always stay away. But when you're thinking about the comp, like you have a lot more trouble dealing with a later game Gwen. Oh, and it seems that Sly Lego will actually get caught out here. Yu still in the brush here, and it will be a 1-for-1 once more. Sly Lego is going down quite a bit with their own kills that they're facilitating. Alibye is left alone once more. We're seeing quite a trend this series of Alibye just being the last one alive. Temetrius is pushing in Ahri quite a bit. This is one of the perks of Ryze, is that permanent push potential. And so Ahri's probably going to be focused not even that much on mid lane this game. Ahri's going to be probably a lot more focused on going to the side lanes and trying to make things happen there. Ryze is going to really want to pair with Olaf. And right now, when you have Olaf, you're kind of on a timer. Even though Alibye does help that a bit by being a Karma, they're still not going to want to be late game where Zhao becomes unkillable, where Gwen becomes untargetable and unkillable and an absolute powerhouse of a champion. And you're not going to want to deal with Ahri and Kai'Sa just zooming in and out of these fights. It's going to be really up onto UCLA. Maybe they're going to focus a bit more on the dragons this game. Unfortunately, Yu will reach it first. And this is one of the reasons you pick Olaf, is to actually get early game dragons. But he was doing his red side camps. Alibye might be able to actually keep them off the dragon long enough. Doggo's in a pretty bad position here if he gets caught out. Unfortunately, Sly Lego is not too hot on the Leona this game. And oh my gosh, Asian Knight deletes Alibye though. Temetrius will manage to find himself into the pit with the Ryze ult. And although the axe goes wide, Nima is going to probably take a bit of damage. Unfortunately, many of the skill shots did not land, and it will be just a disengaged team fight here. Olaf and Ryze might look to actually pick up the dragon here as the rest of UCR has moved off. And like I was saying, you really need these dragons when you're playing Olaf. These are crucial. You don't scale. Oh my god, First Poro, just devastating amounts of damage here. Unfortunately, the minions will finish him off after the tower shot, but it's still not bad as Gwen will be losing a bit more CS than him. Red team does end up getting the dragon as UCLA is now entering into a fight. Sly Lego does go on. Straw's just already not even doing that much. Temetrius getting low in mana, Alibye getting low in health. It's going to be a big struggle to see how it ends up happening. Sly Lego does manage to once more get a 1-for-1. Sly Lego with the 4 deaths so far. So this has been a really action-packed game so far. We're going to probably see a lot of kills like this go on. And so going into the dragon fight here, Alibye does keep Yu off for quite a bit, and the root goes off. Unfortunately, Doggo just flashes in, and that's going to be jumps in. That's going to be an immediate death. Straws as well is getting really targeted here. Asian Knight and Nima doing a lot of damage, especially with that plasma proc. Alibye trying to run off, does miss the charm, but Sly Lego finally hits one of those shots, and it's going to be 1-for-1 once more for the Leona. First Poro is in a difficult spot here, does not have much to get out, and will be instantly killed. UCR has been showing a lot of aggression in this game, and it's actually amazing because this is not what you would usually anticipate. You'd anticipate that the Olaf team, the Ryze team, the Kenan team would be the much more aggressive team, but it seems that in terms of macro, UCR is just always a bit more focused on the aggressive play, whereas UCLA is much more focused on the passive play. UCLA has higher CS values almost across the board, which is usually just a different mindset. If you are a CSer, you are going to be playing more passive. So we're going to see that actually probably the more aggressive comp by UCLA, although it's going to kind of make up for some of the weaknesses it had in the previous game. It's just not going to be to their style, and it's going to actually be a bit harder, it seems, going forward. It seems that now we're going to be a bit more in a lull state. kind of crazy. There's so much action going on here. Zhao and Sly Lego have been just permanently in other people's lanes, and it's been really hard for UCLA to manage. UCLA at least has the Dragon going for them, and it's going to be really whether or not UCLA can keep getting these Dragons for if they're able to keep moving forward. In terms of items, we're going to be coming up a bit closer to people finishing up components. It is close to the 10-minute mark, so if you did not purchase boots, you're probably going to get your mythic soon. We can maybe see Olaf with a Gore coming up shortly on his next recall. Rise is not going to, it doesn't seem like Rise is going to be picking up this blue buff here, as he does have this massive wave, and that's going to feel really bad on Rise, but it will at least let Straws pick up a bit more experience and gold. And oh, never mind, the buff will be preserved for Temetrius, although it will reset, and UCLA has now another buff to do. Unfortunately, it does not look like many things are going UCLA's side this game, and so Temetrius will at least this time be able to pick up the blue buff, but Straws has now been put behind in both time and CS through that bit of a mistake. First Poro is once more playing out the Kenan matchup a bit as you would expect from a range to melee matchup, a bit of a CS difference. However, as the treads have come out, he's not doing as much damage as he used to, and he's really been kind of hurt by the 1-for-1 tower dive that did not end up as good, and these massive plays where Sly Lego and Yu are going topside and trying to really punish any amount of plays available. This is like some real LPL level aggression, these tower dives after and after. We're going to see that the Gwen ult is going out and immediately popped by all of the members of UCR. Kenan, there's no counterplay to that. It's just death, instant and brutal. We do see the Dragons up in 45 seconds, whereas Kenan will be up a bit before that. But all of these kills are racking up excess gold. We see bounties across the board for UCR, and it's going to be really tough for them to manage. Alibye does get Nina a bit low. Straws will try to engage. However, Temetrius caught out a bit, unfortunately, and it will be him falling. Straws very squishy at the moment. Doesn't actually have the completed Gore. Alibye will be able to root Yu, and Yu might go down. Instead, will actually go 1-for-1. And there's been a lot of 1-for-1s this game where UCLA's really needed to live and keep that from happening. Alibye and Asian Knight will exchange flashes, and and Alibye will be able to live once more. Alibye really good at living. Unfortunately, that's not what UCLA needs right now. What UCLA needs is some sort of miracle, some sort of gold discrepancy to occur where they can actually take back this game. Looking here, we do see Temetrius is ulting in, and that's going to be a pretty good ult, but he does not choose to take it as he sees Asian Knight entering as well. But had he done that, he would have actually probably been more likely to live because Nemo's right there to pick him off. Yu now has a flank on Alibye. Unfortunately, Yu is not able to finish off Alibye, but Asian Knight is doing so much damage here. Nima also forces Ezreal to back off from Alibye quite a bit more. We do see the flash for flash here as that second, the Q backwards nearly kills Karma. Once more, we see people kind of around this dragon fight. Again, even though it's not as good as it was before, we have Gore Drinker on the Olaf finally, but the items are still much more UCR favored as they just won another fight. Might be that they're just far enough away that they can be attacked from. Asian Knight has been doing a lot of these flanks so far, and it's been really damaging the ability of UCLA to contest these Drakes. Unfortunately, Temetrius is now aware of this and has been able to kind of get rid of the RE flank. It will be Sly Lego having to flash away as the UCLA's team is closing in on the Leona. Gwen is uncontested in his top side, and this turret's probably going to go down here, and that's going to be first turret, and that's going to be extra gold for UCR. And at this point, UCR might not actually care too much about the first two Drakes, as they're getting a lot of gold. Usually in a Kenan-Gwen matchup, you would want the Kenan to always be higher in CS, but the nature of this game with the constant pressure put on by UCR with these roams, with these tower dives, Kenan's really not had this luxury, and it's going to be this kind of amount of aggressive nature plays that are really going to hurt UCLA. We're already down 6 kills, and that's not even the worst part. It's 5k gold discrepancy. Karma and Ezreal will be mid with the Nima and Sky Lego, and we're just going to have to see if they're able to keep trading back farm and kind of stalling this game off. We do see it's an Infernal Drake, and Infernal Drake's really nice for an Ezreal. It's pretty good for Ryze and Kennen. It's not exactly what Olaf wants. Olaf mostly wants either like a Mountain Dragon or a Mountain Soul or a Hex Soul for the slow, which is really helpful for him sticking on people. But for terms of Ezreal, this is like usually the Drake you want, is either the Infernal Soul or something else that really helps the poke stick. We have not really much going on right now. Thankfully, UCR seems to be not able to really punish UCLA's positioning anymore. As the towers have gone down, that means that the waves are going to be pushing up closer to UCLA's base, making a lot of these more aggressive plays a bit riskier. So we'll just have to see how UCR plays with their lead and manage to kind of accelerate the game forward without UCLA really being able to catch up. Essence Reaver is picked up on Ezreal, as well as the Everfrost Ryze, Gore Drinker, Olaf, as I mentioned, and Rocket Belt on Kennen, Shirelia's on Karma. And these are pretty standard items so far for all these champs. Strauss will be trying to go in for Sky Lego. Sky Lego will be able to get the stun out on Alibye, but it will not be enough, as 4 members of UCLA will be able to pick up Sky Lego here. On the other side, we do see that Sly Lego is actually the last champion in the game to not pick up a mythic, most likely due to the 5 deaths. But the rest of the team does have their mythics in the, or not mythics necessarily, but first items through the Muramana. Temetrius will try to go on LDCS here. It will be a 3v1. However, Gwen is notorious for being able to make these work out. Unfortunately, the tower is going to be close enough that UCLA will not be able to finish that kill off. Doggo will be trying to pick up the rest of the wave here. Maybe stop the Rift Herald. Rift Herald is likely to get a second proc here, as it would spell instant doom for Ezreal to actually try to hit the eye of the Shelly while Kai'Sa and Zhao are right next to it. Seems that UCLA is really trying on just keeping the game alive. It's a really slow game right now. UCR has already accomplished their early game objective of aggression. They're trying to wait out the usefulness of Strauss's Olaf, where in other games it has been really strong in the early game in just exerting pressure. But in this game, as he's already behind and he's been mostly farming, it's just not enough to keep him afloat. Temetrius will be clearing this wave here, and the tower will unfortunately fall to this cannon minion. Gwen will be close enough to just keep the pressure up, and that's just going to be another tower gone. However, now every tier 1 tower is gone for UCLA, so freezing is becoming a lot easier, and tower diving is a lot harder. If they can set up vision at crucial points around the jungle and river entrances, they can really help prevent any more unwarranted deaths. Seems that both teams are going to be opting into clearing wards here. We do have the dragon coming up in 30 seconds, and if UCLA can really keep these dragons up, that's going to be one of their only outs this game. You really have nothing else to play with when you can't get stats from gold if you're just dying over and over again. But oh, TP's coming out from First Poro, and will it be? It will be a 3-person Kennen ult, but there's no follow-up, and he's immediately killed instead. Olaf does try to go in. The Unstoppable keeps him from the Solar Flare, but he will be caught out once more. Zhao and Gwen being permanently immune, making it an absolute catastrophe for UCLA, and UCLA's Temetrius and Alibye will be the sole survivors, as the Drake will be picked off by UCR. UCR is going to be able to take this dragon, and presumably every dragon from here on out. It's really hard to contest this. LDC could easily turn on this. It seems that maybe they're going for the steal instead. It will be Nima just finishing it off quickly with a plasma proc and her Q. As both teams are trying to reset, we do see that we have the needlessly large rod and Hextech Alternator on R. But let's look one more time at this fight. Straws goes in, gets sent all the way back. This is a really good Rise ult if everyone took it, but instead they went really into the brush and kind of separated them a bit, and they took a bit more damage than they otherwise could have. Also, First Poro's engage was a bit... It was good, but it was not where it needed to be. The team was not there yet. If Rise had maybe a more aggressive ult that was more closer to the river, and then First Poro was able to keep them locked until the ult was over, that might have ended a very different way. Unfortunately, it went the way it did, and First Poro might be able to clean up on Asian Knight here. However, Asian Knight does have the get out of jail free card in the form of the Spirit Dashes. UU taking a bit of poke here from Doggo, but Doggo will be unable to clean up the kill with the ult as the Crescent Guard comes out. Straws will be looking for this Rift Herald here. It will only be alive for another 15 seconds, so he has to clean it up pretty quickly. Top side is going to be cleaned up by Rise as well. Ezreal and Karma are back mid, and Keany is going to be against the Ahri in the bot side. So we're going to have to watch out. Slide Lego might be able to actually make a move here. I believe the Blast Cone is still active. Instead, it will be a Hex Flash that will end up going and hitting the Keany with the E. The R does go wide, but it does not matter as the slow was sufficient to land the empowered auto attack that would then stun Poro for the kill. Straws is going to be taking a bit of damage here as LDCS comes in. We do have a TP coming out by the Ahri, and Nima does manage to come in and clean up Straws. Straws, just when you're playing Olaf, you have to really put all your eggs into the early game basket, because if you just fall behind at all, you become squishy and you do 0 damage. Temetrius fortunately gets out alive, as Gwen does not have the burst, although she may have the damage to really hurt UCLA. It will be Baron likely going their way, as Ezreal does not have ult nor his life to try and steal it. Rest of UCLA is probably going to just clean up what they can. I mean, it's just not what you're looking for. LDCS does have this flank here. The slow on 3 members is monstrous. Straws just immediately destroyed. The true damage comes out. Nima comes out as well. The plasma procs. It's just a lot to deal with. Asian Knight has a point blank charm on the Ezreal, and it's just all, or on the, yeah, and it just goes all to, it just does not work out. And this is going to be basically the theme probably for the rest of the game, UCLA here, as they're just unable to really find advantages where they need to find them. We do have Dragon coming up in 1 minute and 45, but you have to realize that there is the Baron buff that's going to be a bit of extra adaptive on the side of UCR, and they're going to be probably pushing in these tier 2s now. Tier 2s are getting rather low. They have the ability to tower dive if they send the right members to a lane collectively. LDCS will find Straws here, but will probably just escape with the Blast Cone. Straws unable to do much about that. Temetrius does not know that LDCS is still there. LDCS doesn't really care, as they'll instead choose to just go immune. Unfortunately, Temetrius is unable to actually land anything because of the immune. Maybe falls... Nope, will not. Instead, First Poro will be tower dove by Ahri as Kaisa finishes off the mid tower. UU and Sky Lego are going to be just finishing off the wave here. Asian Knight having a blast going 419, has that Shadow Flame. It's going to be a bit of a pen steroid. It's not necessarily great against higher magic resist targets, which would include the Olaf or the, probably at this point, the Karma, but against Keany, against Rise, and against Ezreal, or I guess, no, Rise does have the treads, so it's probably not as effective as a Void Staff, but Void Staff does not have the 100 AP that Shadow Flame does, so it's going to be a lot of more damage. 100 AP, 200 HP, and 10 to 20 pen, depending on the status of their HP and their shield. A lot of the vision here is going down, as it seems that UCR really has a complete grasp on UCLA's jungle here. The dragon is up in 3 seconds here, and Yu and Nima are ready to instantly take it. We have 3 items on Nima here. So look at how fast the plasma and the auto attacks chew this Drake down. That's going to be the second Infernal Drake. And this second Infernal Drake means that Ahri, it means that Kai'Sa, it means that Gwen are going to be a lot more threatening. Of course, then Zhao is not going to have a lot of AD. He may actually opt into the Guardian Angel once more, as we do see the broken stopwatch with the call, or I guess no, it might be a bunch of different things. Caulfield's would suggest the Death Stance, whereas a stopwatch suggests the GA like he did the other game. Instead, we will see the team try to find maybe something to pick off. Strauss does have Flash, but it will not be UCR actually ending up in a bad spot. Control word will be cleaned up here, and so will the rest of UCLA's jungle as Asian Knight is clearing these Raptors. Still, we are managing to see a pretty pushed-in game. UCLA is really far behind, 10k gold lead. UCR would have to miraculously turn into G2 in order for UCLA to win this game, and I don't see that happening anytime soon. And it's just going to be probably waves cleared as much as possible, and every time an objective's up, it's either going to be the objective loss to UCLA and then an ensuing fight that results in a couple deaths, a push, or it's just going to be a full-out brawl that ends up in an ace, in which UCR is likely going to end up being able to pick a lane and end it, especially when you're considering that Baron and Drake has about a 2-minute or 3-minute time off from one another. If they're going to be attacked one after the other, you're going to be pretty much timing it with UCLA's respawn timers, and each fight's going to be worse and worse for UCLA to take. On the one saving grace that UCLA might have is actually picking up this Kai'Sa or Gwen with the massive bounties. These bounties are the only chance UCLA has really at coming back. Objective bounties are nice, but the likelihood of being able to even hit them is very slim. Unstoppable does come out as Ragnarok is pressed, but unfortunately that does really just hurt a lot of his pen or his resistances. Kenan and Temetrius will be able to get out, as Kenan will provide a bit of cover for for Ryze's ult to go through. LDCS is very threatening here, but will get CC'd. Unfortunately, it's not enough, as you will be able to go in and force them back. The True Shot Barrage only hits one person, and Doggo just takes a massive amount of damage. That Gnasher's Tooth Crown combo, making the empowered Kai'Sa W really, really painful. Temetrius might be able to get Sly Lego here. The Locket will go out, but Sly Lego will be able to live. Doggo picks up Sly Lego. Temetrius is really tankier. He had opted for a largely tank Ryze build, so he will be able to pick up an additional person. However, just Alibye and Doggo are not there in terms of tankiness, and LDCS with the Gwen with the loads of damage and heal will be able to chew through the rest of them. Wow, that was a massive Gore Drinker heal. But like I said before, they're going to have some sort of fight, some sort of skirmish. We're seeing the ace here, and they're probably going to actually end here. They can pretty easily just finish off these towers. The timers are a bit long for UCLA, and although the wave's kind of small, UU can tank it and just use the minions there as the tower loses its defenses from minion proximity. Second Nexus tower goes down, and the Nexus is going to fall shortly after, and that is quite an unfortunate game too for UCLA. Unfortunately, that's 2 games down. UCLA does not have another chance, and that's going to be the end of our season. Unfortunately, we will not be going to playoffs. Hopefully, that was UCR's game for their playoffs ticket, and good luck to them as they have bested us. And I'll just have to see you guys next time UCLA's playing. Enjoy your